The golden whistler. No Australian bush bird has more character than the golden whistler. It is always on the move, looking at the ground, waiting to strike to pick up a tasty grub or an insect. This bird is found east of the Wallace Line. In mainland Australia we have multiple subspecies as illustrated by the different colours. There are also birds in Norfolk Island and Lord Howe Island. The first written description of this bird was by John Latham in 1801. The genera name he gave it was Pachycephala, flycatcher. The name was changed to Pachycephala in 1845 when Gould published his book, The Birds of Australia. Pachycephala comes from pachy, which means thick, and cephala, or head, so they are called thickheads, as they do have a large transverse skull diameter. In Gould's 3 volumes of Australian birds, there was some confusion of the name. Here is the illustration. Pachycephala pectoralis, the binomial name, was indeed given to the rufous whistler, a printing error. Spending considerable time in Tasmania when Gould lived here, he became aware that the Tasmanian golden whistler had a shorter bill and the undertail was more grey than the mainland bird. Since that time, the number of golden whistler subspecies has increased dramatically. There are now nearly 60 subspecies recognised. In the 1920s, Greg Matthews, a brilliant ornithologist, published another multi-volume set on the birds of Australia. Here he defined 9 subspecies of the golden whistler, and this classification is largely used today with some minor variations. The main features Matthews used in the classification of the male golden whistler were the amount of grey in the undertail with the associated jet black banding. The nominate species had a black undertail. The Tasmanian, Glaucura, as noted by Gould, had a shorter bill and a grey undertail. Xanthoprocta of Norfolk Island was a little unusual in that sexual dimorphism was absent with Xanthoprocta, so the male and the female looked very much alike. Size-wise, slightly smaller than pectoralis, beautifully illustrated by Gould's wife as shown on the insert. These birds are insectivorous. They glean mostly from the mid and top canopy, but they will come down to the ground and feed as well. Just look at this female bird. Notice it has a yellow rump. This was in the coastal ranges of mid-New South Wales with the yellow rump. This bird is a classic pectoralis, as we would expect geographically. The call of the golden whistler is a choo-choo, choo-choo chip, the end of the chip going up to 8 kHz. Now here is a male. Just watch as it takes off. We will freeze it in mid-air to see if we can get an idea of the undertail of this bird. A black undertail. This is the nominate pectoralis and another pectoralis, as expected in this coastal range of New South Wales. As mentioned, the black and the grey colour on the undertail of the male bird help to identify the subspecies. Unfortunately, in the female, this rule does not apply. As shown earlier on the distribution map, the youngie species comes up from Victoria into New South Wales. And here we have a youngie in New South Wales. Notice that it doesn't have the yellow vent on the tail, only the small pericloacal yellowing. The overall female youngie is also darker than the pectoralis, but with the male I really cannot tell the difference between youngie and pectoralis. In the following section I will put up some pictures of golden whistlers that I have taken. I will give you my thoughts in the written description. It may well be that you will differ. Sometimes with the classification of subspecies I feel that the expression beauty is in the eye of the beholder is so true, and what one person sees as one subspecies another may interpret differently. The other problem is photography is not the best way of classifying subspecies. The old saying, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, applies to this, and museum specimens with skins are the best way of really getting a good look at subspecies. This comes to the end of our Golden Whistler. We hope you have enjoyed it as much as we had in putting this film together.